Zog Nit Keyn Mol, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Chod schimmeln bleiene fast den blöje Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Es wird abheugt und unser Trott mir seinen Do. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Es wird abheugt und unser Trott mir seinen Do. Vom grünen Palmenland bis weißen Land von Schnee. Wir kommen an mit unser Pein, mit unser Weh. Und so gefallen sie, das Spriss von unser Blut. Sprotzen wird dort unser Gwure, unser Mut. Und so gefallen sie, das Spriss von unser Blut. Sprotzen wird dort unser Gwure, unser Mut. Es wird die Morgensonne begilden uns dem Heind. Und der Nächten wird verschwinden mit dem Feind. Nur heut versammeln wird die Zun in dem Kajor. Wie a Parol soll gehen das Lied von dort zu dort. Nur heut versammeln wird die Zun in dem Kajor. Wie a Parol soll gehen das Lied von dort zu dort. Das Lied geschrieben ist mit Blut und nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht kein Liedl von a Vogel auf der frei. Das hat a Volk zwischen fallen dicke Wand. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Das hat a Volk zwischen fallen dicke Wand. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Zog Nit Keyn Mol, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Chod schimmeln bleiene fast den blöje Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Es wird abheugt und unser Trott mir seinen Do. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Show. Es wird abheugt und unser Trott mir seinen Do.
Welcome to Minhag Dirigo, a Jewish Maine podcast, and this one is a little more somber tonight, though you may not have known from us opening with a relatively upbeat Zog Nit Keyn Mol by the Schmutz Family Revival Band. I started with my band's treatment of this Yiddish partisan anthem because it was very popular amongst Holocaust survivors. I was supposed to sing it yesterday at a Yom HaShoah event in Augusta, but work travel precluded that. As a Litvak, the Jew of Lithuanian descent, it has a deep appeal. The lyrics were written in 1943 by Hirsch Glick. He was an inmate of the Vilna ghetto, or the Vilna Jewish United Partisan Organization. The title in Yiddish literally means never say, and it was set to, ironically, music from a pre-war Soviet song called the Cossacks song. Glick had been inspired by news that they received in the Vilna ghetto of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. What happened to Glick? He managed to flee when the Vilna ghetto was being liquidated in October of 1943. He was captured and deported to a concentration camp then in Estonia. In July of 1944, he escaped again, but we assume that he was captured and killed by the Nazis, as he was never heard from ever after that. But the lyrics stay with us, and they are poignant and beautiful. Never say this is the final road for you, though leaden skies may cover over days of blue. As the hour that we longed for is so near, our step beats out the message, we are here. From land so green with palms to land all white with snow, we shall be coming with our anguish and our woe. And where a spurt of our blood fell on the earth, there our courage and our spirit have rebirth. The early morning sun will brighten our day, and yesterday with our foe will fade away. But if the sun delays and in the east remains, this song as a password generations must maintain. This song was written with our blood and not with lead. It's not a little tune that birds sing overhead. This is a song people sang amid collapsing walls. With grenades in hands, they headed to the call. Therefore, never say the road now ends for you, though leaden skies may cover over days of blue. As the hour that we longed for is so near, our step beats out the message, we are here. I did want to start off with an element of hope in the ashes tonight. My friend Barbara, a member of my rabbinical cohort, recalls hearing the Hebrew version of this song and learning it when she was in her third grade Hebrew school. And it was very popular with Holocaust survivors, especially in the displaced persons camps. And I think it was sang once in Russia, uh, and never again after that. I'd like to share a couple of things tonight. First, my own family's Holocaust story is as distant and commonplace as many folks in the United States that are descended from refugees of the Pale of Settlement. My great great grandparents came along with siblings, and in my great great grandmother's case, parents from either Lithuania or what is today Belarus, by way of Baltimore, and they ultimately landed in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. They then spent the years from the 1880s forward building community and trying to work together to build mutual aid societies that funded more and more family members, bringing them over from the old country. In the case of the Lithuanian side, that meant trying to bring Feltzers and Abramowitzes from where they were concentrated in a town called Kapiskas. Then along came Johnson-Reed Act, or the Immigration Act of 1924, which severely limited Jewish immigration from Eastern Europe. For the Feltzers, the Abramowitzes, and others in my family, this meant everyone got left behind that wasn't already here, which, with few exceptions that we knew of until the fall of the Soviet Union, this meant everyone that was left behind was killed by the Nazis, along with 90% of the pre-war Lithuanian Jewish population. Trying to get family members over was something that my grandmother of blessed memory remembered from her childhood in the 1920s and 30s. And the St. Louis debacle uh, and tragedy was a very obvious example of the ramifications of the Johnson-Reed Act. My wife, Leah, grew up with far more immediate relationship to the Holocaust. Her uncle Leon and Aunt Eileen Eileen's sister Rita, they were Auschwitz survivors who grew up in Poland and came to the United States in 1947. My own children attended Passover Seders with Eileen's sister Rita, who was also a survivor, of course, and that's just something that resonates now. I'm Gen X. My wife is a millennial. Our two older children were lucky enough to sit at those Seder tables with survivors. My youngest daughter will never have heard firsthand testimony from a relative, although we do have these videos. And we're lucky enough to obtain excerpts from Eileen and Leon's video testimony for the Shoah Foundation years and years ago, portions of which I'm about to share here tonight. I've picked a couple of sections tonight. The first two describe Leon's. He was at Wittenberg doing forced labor when he was selected to go to Auschwitz, and he describes his arrival at Auschwitz and some luck, and then I include a good vignette he presents about what life was like in Auschwitz for him, the horror, the daily horror, and finally a little bit of hope with how Eileen and Leon met in the displaced persons camp later. So we'll roll those video, and I want to warn listeners and viewers in advance that this is not easy stuff. So if you have young people, maybe let them leave the room or find a private space to listen or watch. Thank you.
In Wittenberg, I was still 1942. End of 1942. Then they made Judenrein in Germany. One thing I want to stress, the Germans were very clean-minded. We had to go out every day under a barrel of water and to shower ourselves. They were afraid of any kind of disease not to spread. It was deep Germany. So we had to go. And of course, one thing I want to tell you, which a lot of people maybe don't know, that Eastern European Jews, especially in Poland, we are circumcised. Nobody else. And this was a giveaway. This was a giveaway. Now, The next camp to me was also a Polish camp. There were some other camps, different languages I heard. But when they made Judenrein, so of course I was a Jew. Maybe I wouldn't be selected, but my giveaway was that I was circumcised, and everybody else knew about it. And I was sent to Auschwitz. This was the end of 1942.
Who went with you to Auschwitz?
To Auschwitz, they sent almost, from my camp, almost everybody. But there were a lot of Jews, mostly Jews. Mostly Jews.
Mostly Jews, but
Yes.
were there others who were not Jews?
If I don't mistake, there were some other languages which I heard, but mostly, I would say, 85 to 90% were Jews.
Now, how did you get to Auschwitz?
They again put us in in cattle cars. That's the only way, and we came in, and I came into Auschwitz. I didn't know what Auschwitz meant. I never heard the name of Auschwitz. Never. As I came in, and of course, we came into a railroad track which used to bring you into Auschwitz and Birkenau. So they told us to go out from the train and form lines. There were 2 lines actually. And on both sides, SS were just looking over everybody. We supposed to be the elite workers. Workers came with good reputation from Germany. As we were in the lines and we progressed, I had a friend, a very close friend, which is still alive today in Delray Beach. He's older than me.
What's his
And
name?
Leon Hershkovich. He has the next number, what I have. And as we stood in line, he said in Yiddish to me, I have an intuition, maybe we should cross over to the other line. And I was questioning him. I said, why? Why? What's the difference between this line and the other line? He said, it's my intuition. So I didn't argue with him, and as we proceeded to the line, came to the front, I got the tattoo.
What number is your tattoo?
124,136. This was the end of 1942, my tattooed number. He got, next to me, he got 137. And we got the tattooed. Seems to me, later on as I found out, that this was the lifeline. The other went to crematoria. There was another incident, I remember. There were 2 fellows also in Landwirtschaft in the barracks, and they were cleaning 2 assessmen. They were there doing their housework for them. One day, we were working in the field, and an assessment came over, and he says, "You have the shovels? Now dig a nice opening." He didn't say grave. He says just a nice opening. We didn't know for what. And all of a sudden, came along a German and brought those 2 guys alive still. What happened? We found out while they were cleaning in their place, they took uniforms, their German uniforms, and they put it on. They spoke German very well. They were German Jews. And they figured they're going to go out. Spoke German. They had a uniform. As long as they passed the signal of the Germans, they will be fine. They were caught. And when we made the hole, and when they brought them over in German uniforms, and we recognized them because they were in the same barracks. So anyway, they had to take off their clothes, and it was shut. We put them in right there in the hole, covered up, forget it, nothing happened.
Did you ever say prayers for the men?
Actually, I'll be honest with you. We lived I don't know, it's just like animals. We didn't think about anything. Just one thing was in our mind: food. And how to survive from 1 hour to the other hour. We never know what's going to be the next hour. What happened? There were times we went out to work in the perimeter, if we worked. And there were each corner, there were Germans with machine guns. And all of a sudden a guy from the Germans would say, well, I left something out there and you go and bring it to me. Of course, we knew that we go out of the perimeter, it's dead. You're not allowed. So he said, well, I gave you the order and you must go. Otherwise, I know he's going to shoot me. So let's say I went. And as I went there, in the meantime, he wanted to see how good is he in shooting, how sharp he is still in shooting. And he shot the guy. We had to go out, bring him in, dig a hole, put him in, forget it. There was no responsibility. There was no answer to nobody. This was just episodes. I'm telling you what we had to go through sometimes in between, which what they were. So prayers, coming back to prayers, I'll tell you, I was hoping, and that's what I hanged in, for the best. But I couldn't know what's the next hour will bring. God, maybe it's God, maybe yes and maybe no. But on the other hand, I saw what's going around me. So where is God? I used to see Jews, especially coming in sometimes from Hungary. They were very pious, Orthodox Jews. And they used to pray in their barracks, of course, with film. And 3-4 weeks later, they were gone. They were not there. Some of the guys just went out, touched the electric barbed wire, and that was the end of it. So if you ask me, where is God? I don't know. I don't know what to answer. Just sheer luck. Because I saw too many things which I couldn't really tell you what meant to me, if is or is not God.
Did you ever talk about God in the barracks with each other?
We discussed a lot of times, but it seems to me that everybody else had the same answer. Where is he? When the trains used to come in, loaded with people. And at least we prayed, at least somebody will come and bomb those tracks. Stop it for a while. Nothing happened. And the old people went straight to criminal. People were like mother, even fathers, children. No way they could survive. Never did survive Auschwitz.
Would you like to introduce your wife to us?
My lovely wife, after 50 years being married, is Eileen Kashup.
Eileen, how did the two of you meet?
First of all, I want to correct, it's 51 years married. We met after the war, after the liberation. I came to visit people in the camp, in the DP camp, Felderfing. And those people knew me and they knew Leah, and they introduced us to each other. And of course we fell in love instantly. We were married in a short time because I had already practically my visa to go to the United States. So we met in January 1945 and got married in February 1945. No, six.
Six. I want to correct you. Six.
What is the secret of your happy marriage?
Oh, we love each other and we are very devoted to each other. And we have a background of what we went through, the Holocaust, and we just care for each other a lot.
Leah, my wife, also grew up with musician Avi Wisnia. His grandfather, David Wisnia, survived Auschwitz, traveled with the 101st Airborne Division for the remainder of the war. He believed he survived Auschwitz on the merits of his singing voice, but in How Saba Kept Singing, a wonderful documentary that I highly recommend you watch, we learn it may have been a little more complicated than that in a way that is truly beautiful. David became a cantor for many years before passing away, and we're going to end tonight's episode with his rendition of Male Rachamim, our most beautiful memorial prayer, and the version of it for our martyrs of the Shoah. And he sang this at the 70th anniversary of the Auschwitz liberation, his first return there in decades. It's quite moving. I thank you for joining us tonight. May we never forget the 6 million or the countless other victims of the Nazis. Am Yisrael Chai.
El Male Rachamim. El Male Rachamim, Sochen Bamromim, Amsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashkina, Ve'arot Kedoshim Tehorim, Kezoar Auschwitz, Adonai